Today, we're making yummy, delicious eggs in purgatory. All right, so what is going to go into the eggs in purgatory? I'm using a pound of sausage, awesome, all ground up. I have a cup of my marinara sauce, and I'll link to the recipe below. I've already have a video on how to make it. I've got 3 plum tomatoes. I'm using eggs, about a 1/4 cup of Parmesan, pepper, red pepper, sea salt, and the fat of choice I'm going to use is lard. Now you can use butter, ghee, or coconut oil if you prefer, or olive oil. However, I'm just using lard because, again, it's healthy, it's good for you. I'm only using a teaspoon to sort of help saute the vegetables I'm going to use, and we'll talk about those in a second. But the nice thing is now, because of the paleo movement and the low carb movement, you can actually find some high quality stuff at the grocery store now as far as lard or tallow or duck fat. Which is great. You can also get them on Amazon. I usually go through a company called Fatworks because I love their stuff. I ran out and I'm expecting a shipment any day now, but I found this at my local grocery store, and this is also just as good as Fatworks. So I'm really happy I have that, but I'm also getting more coming in the mail too. So with that, we're going to go over to the stove. I'm going to start cooking this, and I'll show you the veggies that I'm using. All right, I'm heating up my oil. I'm heating it on a medium heat. I have my oven warming up to 400, so that's going on. But the nice thing about this dish is you can add what other veggies you would like to add. So if you want mushrooms, if you want spinach, kale, green peppers, go right ahead. Add them. Just make sure you include the carb count when you do that. What I'm using now is I always do my food prep the day I do grocery shopping. So I already have a lot of my veggies already pre-chopped, so it saves me time when I'm cooking. So what I've got here is, love this Tupperware. They stick together, which is awesome, so it makes storage easy when you're stackable. I have onions. I'm going to use 1/2 cup of chopped up onions, and I'm going to use 1/3 cup of chopped up red peppers. So I'm going to use that. My oil is hot, so I'm going to go ahead and add my red peppers. Ooh, hear the sizzle. Now the onions. I'm going to cook this for about 5 minutes until the onions and the red pepper start softening. Okay, I've added the sausage. I basically got the onion about translucent, just a little softened. And what I'm doing is I added the pound of sausage. I'm just using my spatula to break it apart, so it's not big block. And you can get it to the size that you want, and just watch your heat. You want to manage it. You want to basically cook your sausage all the way through. All right, what I'm going to do now, the sausage is still cooking. It's not quite done. I'm going to go ahead and add in my tomatoes. And what I'm going to do is sort of spread them around with the sausage. And basically, I want them to start cooking down. I want them to start losing their juices and start breaking apart. So they're going to get really soft. That's the idea before I add in my sauce. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and let the heat do its magic. All right, my sausage is pretty much cooked all the way through. My tomatoes, as you can see, are starting to break down, which is what I want. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add my sauce. So let me get this out, turn it around, just go ahead, and then I'm just going to move it in here. And I'm just going to stir it in. And what I'm going to do is let this all simmer together. But first, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add some kick to it, because it is eggs in purgatory, and this I'm adding some purgatory, which is some red pepper flakes. I'm going to add a couple of pinches of pepper. Woo, a little bit more than a pinch right there now, wasn't it? And a pinch of sea salt. But the pepper is the red pepper is what I want to really be the star of it. You want this spicy. So when you make this, the other thing, since you want that spice, you can also use spicy sausage, That can help too, to give it a nice kick. You can even add jalapenos if you like, habaneros. That really is completely up to you, which is what's wonderful about cooking. All right, I'm going to go ahead. My tomatoes are really broken down, which makes me happy. I've incorporated the sauce in here. You can see it's simmering away. I'm going to go ahead and add the Parmesan cheese. Again, it's about a 1/4 cup. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix it in. That'll help thicken everything up too a little bit, which is what I want. And just spread it around to make sure every part gets a lot of cheese love. All right, now normally with eggs in Purgatory, I would just cook everything. I would just move the casserole dish into the oven to cook the eggs. However, since it's just me and my husband, I got a lot of leftovers, and I don't want to cook all the eggs right now because they're just not that hot if you have to warm them up. So instead, what I'm using is I have these little mini pie pans that I use on different dishes since I don't bake pies anymore. But what I have is I put in serving sizes for me and my husband, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sort of a slight well in each one. And that is important. You want sort of a nice little well. And what my goal is to make sure the yolk goes right in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crack the eggs open. Now, I don't crack my eggs up against this because I don't want to run a risk of having a shell go in there. So I'm just going to crack it right along here. Let me move this egg out of there. And then I'm going to go ahead. There we go. Yay. Now let's do this one. All right, so I got that. What I'm going to do now, let me actually wipe my hands off a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add just a touch, just a tad of salt to each one, just to the yolk, to the eggs, to the eggy part. I'm going to do some pepper. And then I'm going to do red pepper, just a tad more red pepper. I'm going to add a little bit more than a tad to mine now because I love heat. So with that, they're both going to go in the oven. They're going to be in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how long or how long I want to cook the egg. And with that, we'll be back with some deliciousness. All right, they were in the oven for about 15 minutes roughly. The eggs are cooked the way I like them. You can leave them in a little bit longer, a little bit less. It really is up to you. But it looks wonderful. You can see part, I don't know if you can see this, but part of the egg is sort of through here. The color has changed a little bit from the yolk that's spread around, but then you've got the white and the yolk that's a little bit covered with the opaqueness. This is a really, really tasty dish. I'm going to go ahead and dig in. Let me go ahead and take a little bite. Actually, I'm going to take a bite of this one. This one has less. So I'm going to take a little bite. Got the egginess on here. It's nice and spicy, the way I wanted it. Really spicy, which is really good, which I love. It tastes wonderful. I didn't use a spicy sausage. If I did, that definitely would have kicked up the heat another notch or two. But it tastes wonderful. Everything just really blends and merges together when you saute it on the stove, and I moved it to the oven. It's wonderful. So if you enjoyed the video, subscribe, hit like, and until next time, I'll see ya.